Geld smiled. This was awesome. Yes, he figured she'd be pretty strong, but Carrera's might was simply unimaginable. Sure didn't expect her to pick off that many with just one blow. Now none of us will have a chance to show our stuff. He sounded a touch sullen about it, but Geld didn't really mean what he said. The Imperial army was in a state of chaos, but there were still over 20,000 survivors, and they were all in a mad rush for Geld's army, trying desperately to escape the carnage. But Geld was unfazed. And perhaps thanks to their commander's calm demeanor, all Geld's forces, right down to the lowliest bug private, were at attention and sizing up the enemy. Shields up. Once the enemy was within spitting distance, Geld issued the solemn order. The Second Corps responded in perfectly choreographed order, and in the next moment, they became a wall that would allow nobody through. The fierce clash of army against the army came the next instant, but despite that, Geld's forces didn't retreat a single step backward as they engaged with the Empire. Even after that, Geld's wall didn't break down at any point along the line, as it pushed the Imperials back. That was how the final battle began. Now it was Shion's turn to make a move. Let's charge them. I want to slaughter every last one of Sir Amura's foes. Shion's elite guard, led by Team Reborn, roared their approval. At once, a good 10,000 magic born of all shapes and sizes began to act on their own discretion. These were Shion's most die-hard fans, trained by the woman herself, and being commanded by Team Reborn, allowed them to largely do as they pleased. As they did, the other Magic-born would dispatch the exposed foes. That was the basic strategy, and it let them steadily cut their numbers without taking any damage. In the meantime, 3 cyclones began to form on the battlefield, one of Dagrel's sons in the eye of each one. It was from those landmarks that the Empire's left wing began collapsing. Members of Shion's elite guard weren't about to miss that chance, and now the Imperials were being pushed back at breakneck speed. Even the Empire's troops, desperate and running on pure adrenaline, were no match for them. As Shion was making a name for herself on the right wing, the Imperial army was facing even more trouble on its own right side. No. Why are they here? The Beastmaster's Warrior Alliance. No, I don't want to die. The Beastmaster's Warrior Alliance troops were serving as reinforcements, alongside the other Magic-born who served Carrera. They all owed Rimuru a great favor, and now they were exercising their full powers to pay it back. A magic spell like none they had seen or heard of before was deploying before their eyes. An ominous pillar, connecting heaven and earth, had just reduced more than 100,000 Imperial troops to dust. Even now, its violent fury was battering the landscape, never diminishing. With that blow, victory was now assured. The only remaining question was whether the enemy had any true champions left hiding in their ranks. By this point, the trend was abundantly clear. Magic was rampaging across the rear, and they were being overrun on their left and right sides. The Imperial army had little option left, apart from waiting for their foes to surround and exterminate them. Momiji eyed the situation, her eyes cold. Her head was calm, but her heart was burning fiercely. It's about time now. Allow me to ignite flames of compassion to relieve our enemies from their suffering. With that whisper, she sent a signal to Gabwa. The moment she did, the 4th Army Corps breathed in unison, summoning their mystic force. The order cascaded across Team Kurenai via Gabwa's thought communication, and as if in response, the mystic force created by everyone streamed across the army, harmonized in beautiful fashion. It was Momiji's job to give all this power conjured. Are you sure this will work? A slightly worried-looking Gabwa asked. Momiji laughed the idea off. If I'm to be Sir Benamer's wife, how could I not be capable of this much? All right. I'll leave that to you, then. Are you ready to begin? Yes. This won't be as powerful as the vicious magic Carrera cast, but it should be enough for the remaining forces. I'm going to finish this with one blow. Then Momiji's once-in-a-lifetime mystic spell made its debut. Let us bloom a red lotus that softly, gently envelops our enemy. Miss a crimson heaven. It was a red flower blooming in the sky. Its first objective was to rapidly burn through oxygen, draining it from the air at ground level, and leaving the enemy incapacitated. The second objective was to rain down the flames of compassion, its temperature high enough to render targets unconscious before it could inflict pain. The third objective was to ferret out the strongest among their forces. If anyone could withstand this attack, they'd have been classified as strong, naturally, making this mystic art a great way to weed out the time wasters. So the blooming flower fell upon the battlefield, and at the end of it, nobody was left alive. Oh? Well, that's a letdown. It was to be expected, perhaps. The last group to enter the labyrinth was far more powerful than any before it. They might have been the best elites the Empire had to offer. Seems like it. Now all we have left is the enemy's command HQ. I'm sure that's been taken care of by now. Besides. Oh, right. Carrera's servant was heading over there, wasn't he? And I'm certain nobody at the HQ could be a match for him. Caligulio had received a stream of desperate reports. He really didn't need them. The catastrophe was happening right before his eyes, and the only silver lining was that, since it happened so fast, they were able to die without feeling any fear or regret. How did this happen? Should I have chosen enslavement instead? No. Where did I even go wrong in the first place? He tried his hardest to cease his looping thoughts but failed. Once again, he looked out at the desperate battlefield, considering whatever possible strategies he could take by now. There was nothing, no saving grace that he could ever come up with at this moment. And more to the point. No. What's that? What is that? Caligulio was tossed into a crucible of fear and confusion. Magic that heinous was beyond what he was capable of understanding. Maybe. Maybe what? It's still a theoretical magic spell, but I know about one that interacts with the gravity of the planet. It's likely the most devastating magic in the nuclear family, but it requires an enormous amount of energy to activate, and every step requires exacting control. Ghidorah told me about it once. Gravity collapse, right? Yes, Caligulio had heard about it. It was a spell that was still under research, merely a theory at this point in time. Have we meddled with someone who we never should have meddled with? He asked himself. I admire your knowledge, sir. The matter-of-fact tone of one of his staff officers brought him back to reality. At this point, the Empire's command HQ was no longer functional. Nothing in the world could be done in the midst of these horrifying circumstances. I can't believe how powerless I really was. How incompetent. How weak. I had no idea I was such a miserable peon, constantly being exploited. He couldn't help but lament his fate. I wish I had power. Large tears spilled from Caligulio's eyes. Nearly 1 million soldiers, people who believed in the glory of the Empire and the commander who led them, were dead. The impact of this undeniable truth was devastating him. Re-reporting, sir. A huge flame was observed in the sky above the battlefield. Based on the amount of heat it generated, we believe the chances that anyone on the ground survived it are hopeless. It's over, Caligulio's first officer muttered. The Empire's been completely defeated. The rest of the staff fell silent. Even the ones trying to escape reality a moment ago were stunned, as if waking up from a dream. They tried to face the reality that awaited them, but their brains refused to accept it. Let's offer our surrender. Whether they'll accept it is a gamble, but there's a chance they'll find us useful. At this rate, we're all going to be killed anyway. I think it's our only chance for survival, but what do you think? Better to be enslaved than dead. Right. Yes, it may be pointless, but let's try to negotiate. At the very least, if we can turn the enemy's attention toward us, that'll give Misha and her comrades a better chance of escaping. Even if this battle ended with them all dying, their defeat would still have meaning if the Empire received the information they learned. Kahahaha. Surrender. Ooh, we can't have that now, can we? I'm afraid you'll have to deal with me for a few moments. Diablo, who had actually been in the tent for some time now, was dressed in his usual butler's uniform, a smile on his handsome face. The moment he saw the demon, Caligulio realized the sheer difference in power between them. Out the corner of his eye, Caligulio spotted Krishna, cowering and intoning I can't, over and over. My name is Caligulio. I am the commander of this operation. May I ask your name? Oh? How polite of you. My name is Diablo, loyal servant of the demon Lord Remure. Diablo loved giving people his name. He couldn't look more cheerful right now. Caligulio took a moment to think. There was little chance they could beat Diablo, even if everybody in Command HQ jumped him en masse. Plus, Diablo came here without giving away any hint of his presence. He had infiltrated their HQ without showing any sign of the supreme aura that oozed off of him now. Kahahaha. Are you trying to stall for time, perhaps? What? Several of your people fled from here, and you're serving as decoys for them. A truly excellent example of self-sacrifice, but I'm afraid it's not going to help you. You see, I've already taken care of them. Diablo laughed. When a demon comes up to you, he'll never let his prey go, and Diablo just proved it. Out of empty space, he produced 2 corpses and dumped them on the ground. Are those the single digits? A shocked Krishna shouted. They were the bodies of Bernie and Jiwu. Intense fear ran through the command center. Krishna wasn't the only one left speechless. Everybody in the tent knew what the defeat of not 1, but 2 single digits meant. There was no beating Diablo. And not just that. No. In that case, our deaths, and the deaths of all those soldiers. It's going to be all for nothing. A deep despair struck Caligulio. Draw your swords. Intruder. Kill the intruder. The guards responded to the second-in-command's frenzied shouting. Unlike Krishna, the armed sentries knew nothing about Diablo's strength, reacting without realizing just how reckless they were being. Kahahaha. You lowly worms think you stand a chance against me. Diablo laughed in their faces. But Caligulio's aide was undeterred. Silence, demon. There's still over 1,000 warriors surrounding you. Powerful or not, what can you do by yourself? He was trying his best to mask his fear with rage. But Caligulio didn't move. Kahahaha. I'm afraid those words came a little too late. The only ones still alive in this camp, you understand, are all inside this tent. Diablo snapped his fingers and then the entire tent was blown away, letting the occupants examine the scene outside. It was a field piled high with dead bodies. The soldiers had all passed, as if sleeping on top of each other as if someone had silently extracted their souls from each of them. That's exactly what happened, Caligulio realized. Diablo took their souls. He didn't let a single one resist him. And now, once again, the tragedy played itself out before Caligulio's eyes. Another snap of Diablo's fingers, and Krishna and the others toppled over. Waves of despair and sadness crested across the commander's heart. Ah, ah, ah. He screamed, shedding tears of blood. And right after that, his body was so saturated with emotions that he exploded. Diablo had no reason to allow any enemy soldiers to escape in the first place. After receiving the order from Rimuru, Diablo merrily strode onto the battlefield. Following the signs of Krishna that he had detected, he discovered the enemy's command tent and took a look inside. Then he was accosted by Bernie and Jiwoo, but since he had no intention of letting any Empire soldiers escape, he quickly opted to deal with them on the spot. They were much stronger than he thought. Well. Even with my unique skills tuned to maximum, these two remain unaffected. But it appears their powers are borrowed from someone else. They're unbalanced. You could say I doubt they've actually awakened to any of these abilities. And if they haven't, I can still work with this. Despite his slight puzzlement, Diablo was still reliably in command from start to finish, as he dispatched the two single digits. Misha, who came over in a hurry once she saw what was going on, quickly revealed that she was working for Yuki. Rimuru had a tacit agreement to fight alongside Yuki, and Diablo would never go against his will, so he let her go free. But were those ultimate skills they had? I still resent how much Guy bragged about his to me long ago, but perhaps this is worth investigating. Returning to the Empire's camp, he easily made his way inside, invoking End of the World to take the lives of anyone he saw. He worked quickly, indiscriminately, and without any hesitation or concern as he slaughtered them all. Caligulio was now screaming in front of Diablo. It made the demon chuckle a bit. The commander had now surpassed all limits of the human body. Maybe he had the potential to do this all along. By this point, he was well past enlightened, his energy growing higher and higher. Awakening out of sheer despair, It looks like his sense of guilt is bringing him to a higher level. And that makes him much more worthy to fight me. As Caligulio heard what seemed like a distant scream, he awoke. Power coursed through his veins, a ferocious power like none he had ever experienced. This was it. This was it the whole time. His Majesty, Emperor Lidor, wanted me to awaken. And when he realized that, he understood. Everything that had happened to him up until then really was meaningful. Caligulio was no longer just enlightened, he had become a saint. I was such a fool. Kahahaha. You're exactly right. But now I swear I'll make up for all my mistakes. The moment he shouted that, a shining suit of divine armor wrapped itself around his body. It was God-class armor, handed down from the time of ancient gods and gifted to him from the Emperor. You'll pay for this, demon. I'm gonna mow you down. Kahahaha. It would hardly be fun otherwise. The two sides glared at each other, and the final battle began. Exercising the limits of his power, Caligulio sent out a full-throttle strike to start. His fist, protected by a gauntlet, was a deadly weapon in itself, capable of smashing through almost any material in this world. Caligulio knew Diablo's name. He was one of Rimuru's big four, and his real identity was an evil demon. That, and incredibly enough, the report he saw claimed he was now a demon peer, something that existed only in legend before. He's a horrible demon, I'll grant you that, but now I can take him. With this power, I can defeat anything: true dragons, demon lords, even heroes. A tad disappointing. But his killer fist was lightly brushed away by Diablo. No. Oh, do you have a question? Why are you still unharmed? That one blow should have been able to destroy any demon. Seeing him unscathed was simply ridiculous. He refused to accept it. Why? It's simple. You don't have the skill level required to handle that power. The awful truth was delivered as casually as the day's weather. The skill level. Yes. It's quite a pity for me, too. It was too early for you to fight. If this is how things are, the duo from before were more powerful. They both boasted ultimate skills, albeit borrowed. If you had awakened to this power sooner than now, this would have been a much more exciting battle. But alas. Fruit needs to ripen before it tastes sweet. Diablo was lamenting the fact that he picked this one off the tree far too soon. But all this was an insult Caligulio was too loath to admit. God damn it. Don't you belittle me, you demon bastard. He could shout all he wanted, but the situation was already grim. Caligulio understood that. He knew he couldn't beat the demon in front of him. Arg. There was no winning this. He knew it now. But even so, he'd still try with everything he had. Even the god-class armor and all its mighty force couldn't be fully utilized by Caligulio as he stood now. So Caligulio, the last surviving member of the Imperial invaders, was defeated, unable to even make Diablo fight him seriously, and with that, his soul was reaped.